Even in the remaining hours, President Joe Biden is Joe Biden. He's just issued the preemptive pardons we've been calling for to protect many of those Americans and patriots who served on the Jan6 Committee, and General Mark Milley and Dr. Anthony Fauci have all been given the protective shield of Joe Biden and our thanks as Americans. I'm Michael Popok. You're on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. And as expected, Joe Biden and his administration has decided to use the incredible, robust, constitutionally authorized pardon power to preemptively pardon not people who committed any crimes, but who did their civic duty as patriots to protect America. And only thing is, they got on the wrong side of Donald Trump because Donald Trump got on the wrong side of criminal law and on the wrong side of trying to overthrow our democracy. And people stood in that path. And we've got the entirety of the Jan6 Committee, from Liz Cheney to Benny Thompson to Jamie Raskin to Kinzinger and the rest. Adam Schiff Senator Adam Schiff also receiving a preemptive pardon. Now, these people who have gotten the pardon, even though some of them, like Schiff, said they didn't really want to get that pardon, are doing it for a number of are accepting it for a number of reasons. Same reason Joe Biden is giving the protective shield of these particular pardons. First of all, we know we have a retribution and chief administration about to come into office. I mean, Pam Bondi was being confirmed as Attorney General while Ivan Raskin, a self-proclaimed minister of retribution, was sitting in the audience for MAGA. Donald Trump has said he's going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after the prosecutors, to go after those who tried to bring him to justice, although relatively unsuccessfully, at least in the federal criminal context. So he's already said, Trump, out loud, that in a combination of Pam Bondi, who's going to get confirmed as the Attorney General, and Kash Patel, who's probably going to get confirmed as FBI director at the rate these confirmation hearings are going. He's going to use these two to kind of clean house from a MAGA perspective, meaning going after those that Donald Trump believes tried to weaponize the Department of Justice or the FBI when all they were doing was their job. If Donald Trump hadn't committed crimes, hadn't tried to blow through the guardrails of our democracy, he wouldn't have been in this mess, right? And so knowing that and knowing how MAGA and the Federalists feel about the president, they believe, and this is a philosophical major distinction and difference between Democrats and Republicans. Democrats believe that even though the Department of Justice and the Attorney General and the FBI are part of the executive branch, that ever since at least Richard Nixon, it's a good idea to put them behind an independent barrier and let them exercise their judgment independently, not meet regularly with the president the way that Hoover did with Nixon or the way his Attorney General did before he went to jail in Watergate, but rather have a measure of separation. That's why Merrick Garland and his predecessors never met with the presidents at the time, never went through their agenda, never had weekly lunch meetings with them, never went through the cases and the targets they're thinking about pursuing. And we as Democrats think that's a good thing. Federalists and MAGA think that's a bad thing. This is a binary switches on, switches off distinction between the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans believe that there should be a unitary president, that the president and the executive branch should hold all the power embodied in one person occupying the office of the president, and that the president is actually, in their view, using their words, the top prosecutor in America, not the Department of Justice's Attorney General. That's what the president is supposed to do, and that the Attorney General must directly report to the president as the FBI director should, and they should meet regularly and go through their case lists. As if this was a law firm where I came out of, the world I came out of, the president is the senior managing partner of the firm. And these junior partners need to meet regularly with him, like my team used to go over cases and case lists. That's not the way we see it as Democrats for obvious reasons, because we envisioned the day when we'd have a potential felon as president who would try to misuse power, abuse power, and the like. Now, the people that have received these protective pardons are, let's just put it this way, thankful. Here's what Here's what President Biden had to say in issuing these protective pardons, putting these people behind that shield. Quote, "I believe in the rule of law, and I am optimistic that the strength of our legal institutions will ultimately prevail over politics. But these are exceptional circumstances. I cannot, in good conscience," President Biden said, "do nothing. Baseless and politically motivated investigations wreak havoc on the lives, safety, and financial security of targeted individuals and their families." President Biden continued, "Even when individuals have done nothing wrong and in fact have done the right thing and will ultimately be exonerated by history, the mere fact of being investigated or prosecuted can irreparably damage reputations and finances," right? And that's on the Biden side. On the acceptance side, against the threats of Donald Trump saying he's going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden and his family. I mean, this is the exact same rationale that Joe Biden used to grant a pardon to his son Hunter under a lot of apparently political flack and expense. Some commentators, even moderate, said at the time that it's an indelible stain on Joe Biden's legacy because he said he wouldn't, but then he would. He also said he was going to run for office and then he didn't. But I think times they are a-changing. And after meeting with Trump and seeing that Trump had appointed people, nominated people like Kash Patel for FBI, Tulsi Gabbard for intelligence, Pam Bondi, lock her up Bondi for Department of Justice. There was no way he was going to leave his son in harm's way. I would have thought, then I would have really doubted his mental capacity if he had not protected Hunter Biden. I'm still waiting for the Michael Cohen pardon. And we still have time on the clock, by the way. I want to tell you about one of my favorite brands in the entire health and wellness world, Qualia. I've never felt better lately, in part because of the Qualia's products I'm using regularly. Qualia's science team is tackling some of the most challenging aspects of health and wellness that we all face, human longevity to optimizing mental health. Qualia's health formulas meticulously blend many ingredients with complementary relationships into easy once-a-day formulas. This makes supporting some of our most nutritionally complex health needs very simple. Qualia conducts pilot studies and double-blind placebo-controlled clinical studies on many of their products, all while keeping each formula vegan, non-GMO, gluten-free, and backed by a 100-day refund guarantee. I encourage you to check out their rapidly expanding product line of supplements that support so many common health needs. One of my personal go-tos is Qualia's Senolytic, a clinically tested formula that helps the body naturally eliminate senescent cells so you can age better. These senescent cells cause the symptoms of aging such as aches and discomfort, slow workout recoveries, sluggish mental and physical energy associated with that, middle-age feeling. Take a look at Qualia's line of truly inspired health formulas. Go to qualialife.com/legalaf and use code legalaf at checkout for up to 15% off your purchase. That's QUALIA life.com/legalaf for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Qualia, for sponsoring this episode. But this is the pardons that I'm covering right now. Here's what Mark Milley. Now, let's remember, General Mark Milley was not just a run-of-the-mill general. He was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right? He's a 4-star general, served this country well. He also opposed Donald Trump in a number of ways. He said it was wrong for Donald Trump to use the military to clear the Lafayette Park behind the White House for his walk to church with his upside-down Bible. And he would never allow the military to be used as a prop on civilian soil ever again, right? He also said that during Jan 6, Donald Trump's dereliction of duty, being in the dining room, doing nothing, fiddling while Washington burned, was a dereliction of duty and showed cowardice. This got on the wrong side of Donald Trump, as you could imagine. And he's also linked Mark Milley, by the way, to Mar-a-Lago and the obstruction of justice espionage case, because it is Mark Milley's article in the New Yorker magazine in which he said that he made phone calls to his Chinese counterparts to tell them that he would not allow Donald Trump to start World War III, that he would put his hand between Donald Trump's finger and the nuclear button. Donald Trump didn't like that. And then that's when Donald Trump pulled out all sorts of war maps and Iranian war plans and everything else, pulled it out in front of a person with no classified, no top secret classification, and started saying, it wasn't me, it was Mark Milley. He was trying to start those wars. See, look at this map. Look at these top secret documents I shouldn't be showing you. That's all that was recorded by reporters and others that were in the room with Donald Trump, and that helped launch the Mar-a-Lago investigation. Here's what Mark Milley had to say about accepting the pardon. He said, after 43 years of faithful service in uniform to our nation, protecting and defending the Constitution, I do not wish to spend whatever remaining time the Lord grants me fighting those who unjustly might seek retribution for perceived slights. I do not want to put my family, my friends, and those with whom I served through the resulting distraction, expense, and anxiety. Dr. Fauci, Anthony Fauci, who just as an aside, a Popok aside, I met Anthony Fauci when I was in college because he was the brain to try to fight the scourge of AIDS in America. I was a resident assistant, an RA at NYU, and we invited Dr. Fauci to give a speech and a lecture at NYU in the student center about AIDS, which was, this is in the 80s. And I got to meet him. Always kept an eye on Dr. Fauci after that because he was such an honorable person, such an amazing humanitarian and doctor. I always kept my eye on him. Here's what Dr. Fauci had to say. There is absolutely no basis for these threats, he said. Let me be perfectly clear. I have committed no crime, and there are no possible grounds for any allegation or threat of criminal investigation or prosecution of me. The fact is, however, that their mere articulation of these baseless threats and the potential that they will be acted upon create immeasurable and intolerable distress for me and my family. Now, Adam Kinzinger, Republican of Illinois, former representative who was on the Jan6 Committee who retired, I know he was of the position that he doesn't want to accept the pardon. He said, I'm guilty of nothing besides bringing the truth to the American people, because for 187 minutes he sat there in the dining room of the White House and did absolutely nothing and showed how weak and scared he truly is. So no, I don't want it. And Adam Schiff said similarly before the pardons were issued that it would be wrong precedent to send, who led the prosecutions from the Senate side. However, it's unclear whether they have to accept it. When you read the Constitution and the presidential powers, it's not like they have to accept it. Oh, I declined the pardon. I mean, I guess they could challenge it. And if they get, if Kinzinger and Schiff get prosecuted, I guess they could, somebody could say, well, you waived it. I don't think they're going to waive it. I don't think they should waive it. I think they should accept the largesse and the protective shield of Joe Biden and the thanks of the American people and of history for doing what they did. That's my position here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. And we got some more time on the clock. By the time I cut this hot take, it's just hours before the inauguration. But frankly, there's still another few hours left for Joe Biden to do a last gasp of pardons. We're still holding out hope for Michael Cohen because Lord knows he's in harm's way and deserves the pardon. He's testified successfully and admirably, turned that leaf in mea culpa against Donald Trump in a number of criminal prosecutions and the Attorney General case in New York. But let's see what Joe Biden does in the remaining days. But the headline here, pardons, preemptive pardons, as we called for, as we expected on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF by Joe Biden, all of the Jan6 Committee, Mark Milley and Anthony Fauci included. Thanks for being here. Puppies and kittens on Inauguration Day. That's what we're doing here, besides our hot takes here on the MeidasTouch Network. That's our live feed today. Pardon me. And I'll be doing hot takes throughout the day and throughout the week right here on the MeidasTouch Network at the intersection of law and politics and other things. Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Popok Live. I'm unbridled, I'm unchained, I'm unfiltered. I don't pull punches. I'm answering questions, and I do it at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, a new podcast called Popok Live. Wednesdays and Saturdays, of course, are Legal AF, the podcast, and then a new YouTube channel called Legal AF MTN from MeidasTouch Network that I curate at the intersection of law and politics. Look, there's going to be lawsuits day one, moment one, being flying out against the Trump administration. I believe there's going to be a lawsuit about two things that you'll need to follow in the first 72 hours of the administration. One, challenging the Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk, and secondly, a lawsuit against Donald Trump's executive orders he's going to sign in the first minutes of his administration that's going to say that people born here are not U.S. citizens if their parents are illegal or undocumented. Follow those lawsuits and more on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, Legal AF MTN. Until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.